Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now. On today's episode of the One Gang Worldwide podcast, we're taking a ride down memory lane and into the world of vintage motorcycles with a very special guest, Alex Zurcher from Vintage Rides. Alex has been riding, restoring, and celebrating vintage bikes, crafting unforgettable motorcycle tours that blend adventure with nostalgia. Whether you're a vintage motorcycle aficionado or simply love the tales of the road that these classic bikes tell, this episode's for you. We'll explore the allure of vintage rides, the stories they carry, and how they're more than just machines. They're pieces of history on two wheels. So kickstart your engines and let's dive into the world of vintage motorcycles with Alex Zurcher, right here on the One Gang podcast.
I used to ride the small taxis. I had no idea what was to see in Bombay, but I was asking them, Acha Bombay kahan hai? Which means, where is the good Bombay?
Where's the good Bombay? Yeah.
They showed me the way.
Alex Zurcher, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate you being here and taking the time to share your stories with us.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you for receiving me, guys. Quite excited to talk to you about the story.
Awesome, man. We can't wait either, man. We've been waiting for this one for a while. So, all right. Well, why don't we just begin, man? You've had an amazing journey so far. Why don't you take the audience to tell us where you grew up? Did you travel a lot as a kid with your family? And in addition to kind of take the story into how you got influenced by motorcycles.
I was born in France, in a city called Strasbourg. It's northeast of France. And with my family, we kept on shifting every 2-3 years. So then I lived in the south of France, in Marseille, in the west of France, in Nantes, in the center of France, in Paris, close to Paris. Then I was very lucky to do my teenage in Prague, in the Czech Republic. So it was the first long-term exposure to a foreign country, which for me was very exciting. And that's how I got to at the end go to India, because when I was a student, I had to, everybody in third year had to travel abroad. And at this time I was 19 years old and I thought, okay, it's the one time where, I can just go travel and have absolutely no thinking about what's a smart move for my career or something like that. And I thought, okay, I really adjusted well to Czech Republic when I was a teenager. So when I was turning 19, I said, okay, let's go as far as possible. And that's how I ended up in India.
Nice.
I think, in a way, my youth influenced my my decision as a student.
That's cool. So you said you moved around, your parents were moving around every couple of years. Why was that? What was the reasoning?
Yeah, but my dad was working in the, I don't know how to say that in English, actually. In French, we have a word called agroalimentaire. So in English, it's distribution maybe of food and,
Cool. Okay.
in some kind of general stores kind of job. And so he kept on changing jobs, basically. He was getting promoted or shifted to another country. So that was the reason. So he was changing jobs, and me as a kid with my sister and my brother, my mom, of course, we were just following. And the dog also, yeah. That I shouldn't forget.
And you know what? When you said that you did some before you started making decisions about your career, where you were going, all this stuff after school, you traveled. I think that's one of the great things about the kids growing up in Europe, that they do take those moments after school where they take some sabbatical and they kind of go find themselves, figure things out. Where in the States, it's a little bit different, man, because you go straight from college, straight to work, everything's so, structured and fast. So I think if more people had a chance to kind of take a little time right after college and do some traveling, kind of figure out some cool things, see some different things, it inspires a lot of things. So that's awesome, man.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I think in Europe, especially in France, we are lucky because the education is much more affordable than in the US. So in the US, I think to make a good education, you have to take massive loans. And I think that the people don't really have a choice than to just jump into a good, well-paying job to pay back, So me, I was lucky in two ways. First, education is way cheaper in France. So my first 5 years of university were, I think, costing €1,000 a year. So it's
Wow.
like really, really cheaper than what you can have in the States. And I was also lucky to have a family who was paying for my food and stay, which made a big difference for me, and in a way that allowed me to take risks into launching a company quite young at 20 years old. So
Yeah.
I'm very much aware that I was quite lucky in that sense.
That's awesome.
All right. So at the age of 19, you're on the back of your buddy's motorcycle and something happened. Can you tell us the story and what was going through your mind? And then, just as you were speaking about starting a company at 20 years old, what went into that and what did you do? What were some of the first steps to put your plan into action?
Okay, so as I was telling you, 19 years old, I had to do my third year of university abroad. And so I decided not to think about the smart move in terms of career, but to think about the smart move in terms of personal growth. And I
Sure.
felt, all right, let's just go as far as possible to what I know. And I figured out that what is as far as possible to what I knew back then was India. It's like 15 different countries in one country,
Yeah.
1,500 different languages, Himalayas in the north, the very wild and tropical south, of India. So a lot of diversity and very different culture and everything. So I said, okay, let's just go to India. So I arrived
Cool.
in a university called Nehru University when I was 19 years old. And I was really wanting to have a big, big cultural shock. And
Hmm.
I arrived, and of course, nothing was the same, and I had to adjust, but I adjusted quite quickly. And then I felt, okay, I was looking for a huge shock, and there is something missing. And I was looking for that, what it is. And suddenly, in the foothills of Aravallis, I mean, close to Jaipur, it's a city in India, in Rajasthan. I was sitting on the back of the motorcycle of a friend, which is a Royal Enfield motorcycle. And I felt, fuck, that is motorcycling. And I always thought that riding a bike is just for, petrol heads, people who just want to ride fast. And I'm
Right.
not this kind of guy, I don't have the best balance and the best everything. I don't care about speed. So I never thought motorcycle would be for me. And then it clicked. I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn how to ride a bike when I'm back in New Delhi.
Mm.
I'm going to buy a motorcycle and I'm going to travel throughout India on a motorcycle. And
That was
so,
the shock you were looking for. All right.
yeah, that was shock.
So
Fuck,
that
right?
was your first introduction to the motorcycle. That was the first time you physically
Yeah,
learned how to ride. No shit. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. And so what happened is that then I was looking for a bike, and I ended up understanding that back then, 2005, in India, the bike which was making sense for long distance travel was the Royal Enfield. It's fun because in 2005 it was still iron engines, right side gearbox,
Right.
bikes which were just the same as the bikes our granddads were riding in the 50s, dads or granddads, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was fun, and I looked for a bike. I bought a bike, and I didn't even know how to ride it, and I didn't even know how to start it. And so I was so ashamed, and a shy kind of guy, so I was not really daring to ride it in campus in the day. So at 12 in the night, I was starting to kick my bike alone in the night, trying to try to start. The compression of the engine was crazy. So the kickstart was really tough on that one. And I was kicking, then starting, then riding alone in campus on the ring road of the campus. So I did that for 1 month. The second month, I decided to go in the traffic of New Delhi, which was another challenge.
Wow.
And after 2 months of riding, so I somehow got my Indian license, I would say. And I put my bike in the train when I was still 20 years old, 19 years old. I did 54 hours of train all the way to the most south train station of India in Trivandrum. And it's very funny because when I stepped out of the train, I was 20 years old. And I had my bike, and it was the start of the adventure.
Started the adventure.
So,
Cool, man.
yeah,
That's awesome. That's
Awesome.
why this is we're gonna go into the next question. Is basically that adventure. I mean, you're 20 years old at this point. Just learned how to really ride a motorcycle. Um, must have been just amazing to plan something like this. Tell us, take us through that trip, man. Tell us some stories that scared the shit out of you, and tell us some stories that were like, if you can say, rated PG, of course. And tell us some stories that you just had things that maybe places you pulled up to that you were a little weary, and then turned out to be the best places you've been to, and the people you've met. Take the listeners through that journey of
Well,
yours.
to be honest, I think I was not scared of anything at that time, but um, I don't know. I was just feeling everything were going to be okay. And I had taken a friend with me who was riding pillion, and I told her, see, because it was very funny because two friends of mine were supposed to come, and one after the other, they got scared.
Back
And
down.
suddenly there was this little girl, her name is Anne, and she told me, no, no, Alex, she was a teacher in this university, but we are both French and all. And she said, no, no, me, I want to come. I really want to come. I'm not going to let you down.
Hmm.
So I said, okay, I'm going to take care of making sure that I have enough spare parts to fix that bike, which seems to be the main issue. You take care of the itinerary. I don't care. Basically, you see the south point. It's called Kanyakumari, the most south point of India. We are going there. Then we get back to Delhi. So
Nice.
we take care of the road. And I was just thinking, okay, we're just going to ride. We had no money. We're sleeping in hotels for less than $1 a night, or almost maybe $1. That's super cheap. But that's what made the magic.
Alex, what
And
year was this? What year was this?
it was 2005,
2005.
2006,
Okay.
basically. So that
Thank
was
you.
that was December 2005, just a bit before Christmas. And we just started riding, finding nice, cheap places to sleep, cheap places to eat. We rode in the hills. We rode by the sea. Yes, of course, we almost died at some point. Like when it was like super stupid. There was a blind curve in um, in the mountains, and there was someone parked in the curve,
Yeah.
and another guy just overpasses without checking if someone is coming on the other side, and the guy on the other side was me.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so
Jeez.
I don't know how it was I scared. No, because I didn't even have time to be scared. I just, even though I was a super young rider, and I don't know how, I just rode in between the side of the road, which was how do you say that in English? I don't know, but the slope or something like
Shoulder.
The
yeah, it
shoulder,
was
yeah.
just, where I was nowhere if I was going there, and the car was just crossing the road, and I don't know. And actually, I think he braked, and by braking, he ended up at the other end of the car. So if I had not gone on the side, I mean, I
Wow.
was gone. And if I had gone too
Wow.
much in the side, I was gone as well in the hole. So very
Gosh.
luckily, and we both stopped on the other side of the car, and I turned back. I think the guy got shit. I mean, he could have. I mean, of course, he could have
Of
done it
course.
times. And I felt, what's the point? And I just restarted riding. And just carried on. And yeah, so that was maybe that should have been the scary part. I should just say we didn't have time to be scared. But then I had a lot of mechanical issues because at that time and still today, um, if you just go and get your bikes fixed in the streets in India, yeah, many people try to steal the good spares of your bike to put
Oh,
bad
wow.
spares, and you never should leave your bike. And so basically, someone had given me an old piston, very used piston, but especially a bad oil pump. So I had a super bad mileage. So I didn't know why. So that was a cost issue for us.
Right.
And when we were heading all the way to Goa, the engine seized for the first time. So I was like, fuck. And I again got my piston seized changed in a few hours at a new mechanic shop who was honest, but anyway, I was not leaving my bike anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so my friend Anne went back to Delhi. She had classes to restart then. So me, I wanted to go all the way back to Delhi on the bike. And so I was running in my engine for all the way to Bombay, and just riding continuously. And um, and then I mean, fun fact, but I was just reaching Bombay at night, and I had no time. So I needed to go back to Delhi at that time. So I was saying to the rickshaw drivers, the guy who ride the small taxis, I had no idea what was to see in Bombay, but I was asking them, "Acha Bombay kahan hai?" Which means, Where is the good Bombay? You know,
Where's the
what
good Bombay? Yeah,
they showed me the way I ended up, on the on the side of the sea, looking at the historical architecture of British Bombay, which was it's just still today crazy memory, And I restarted riding. It was maybe 4 or 5 in the night, and I said, "Okay, I'm tired." So I slept on the bike because on the some kind of a truck parking on the side of the road. I didn't want to leave my bike with all my stuff. And it was very, of course, very uncomfortable, maybe 1 or 2 hours sleep. Then I restarted and I seized my engine again.
wow,
And that was
again.
okay. That's
Jeez.
too much. I'm not going to be able to go all the way to Delhi. So I still did 150 kilometers to Gujarat, which is in the north of Bombay. I, um, I went to the train station to put the bike in the train, and they told me, no, here it's not a starting point. You have to put your bike in the train in Bombay. So
Oh, what?
at that time, you have just no idea how tired I was. I was probably riding since, I don't know, 30
Of
hours. I don't
course.
know, more than, maybe 30, 24 hours or something like that, or more, 30 hours. So, okay, I was like, I think Indians were like, poor Indians were looking at me as if I was like
Some
poor
crazy,
Italian,
crazy
like
guy. Yeah, yeah. Hey,
crazy
so
dude.
what'd you do when the engine seized? I mean, you must have been tired too from pushing the bike, correct?
No, because it's not complete seizure. It's like suddenly you have a very strange noise coming from your engine, like very loud, like,
Yeah, yeah.
and so it just slows down suddenly. So it's not it doesn't block. It's just
Understand.
some kind of a scratch.
So
So
you were able to make it to the next
ride
destination.
slow, ride slow. But I was scared not to be able to go all the way to Delhi. And when
Right,
I think about it again, maybe I could have riding slow, but then it would have been better. So I
right.
went back to Bombay to the train station, and I was looking for a hotel, but it was too expensive for me. So it was maybe $20. And I didn't have $20. So I told the guy where I parked my bike, I'm going to sleep on my bike in the parking. And the guy said, "No, you're not going to." So I said, "Yes, I'm going to stay in the parking. My bike is there. My bike is mine. I'm sleeping on my bike. It doesn't make any difference for you."
Right, right.
So then we negotiate, and then he tells me, "No, go sleep on the back." I say, "Okay, where is the back?" And that's the magic of India. There is always another layer, another something. And actually, this parking was in the middle of a slum. And I've been invited to sleep
Hmm.
in the house of a poor man staying in the slum with no roof. So there was just the four walls and no roof, and we were both sleeping on the ground.
Jeez.
And that was a good night, actually, much better than the previous one. And then I put my bike in the train, and I had no ticket. And so they sold me some ticket, I don't know. And then I see but I was in waiting list, so I had no chance to be in second sleeper. And I see general compartments where people can go without tickets, but there was space. So I went
Nice.
and I went in there, general compartment, and that is the worst experience of my life.
Huh.
24 hours of train in general compartments, a full lights, 24 hours, you cannot sleep. It's horrible. The thing was so packed, you could not sleep. Uh, People were slamming on each other to get out. People were fighting to get out. People were fighting to come in. People were fighting with the big iron door to take them out of the train because they didn't want anyone else to come in. The violence of this was crazy. And at the same, it was really tough. And I was super tired by then. It was disgusting in terms of everything. And at the
Yeah.
same time, poorest people are there, and some family shared their meal with me because I had nothing
Nice,
to eat.
nice.
Awesome.
And so it's both the toughest and also a nice memory. But yeah, so that's how I ended up going back to Delhi by train.
So what was your impression of you? What was your impression of the culture, like going through it, and now be having your bike break down, dealing with people to fix it, and then in addition to moving, what was your impression like of the people? Because a lot of people have a misunderstanding about India. They really don't know too much about it.
Yeah,
Give a little insight on the type of people that there.
I think India is magical in a way. India is everything. It's the best and the worst. It's the night, the richest and the poorest. It's the smartest and the dumbest in a way.
Right, right.
So yeah, India is a land of diversity. It's a land of, yeah. There's so much to say about India. It's very different to just sum up. But yeah, there are people who are not honest. People who are just trying who did steal my spares.
Take advantage. Yeah.
And you have people who are just the most honest, even though they have nothing, you know. And it's
Yeah.
a land where you can have the best hotels in the world at the most expensive prices, but it's also a land where with $1, I mean $2-3 a day, I was able to ride, sleep, and have food.
Wow.
Maybe a bit more with the gas, but with very low budget, like very low budget, I was able to manage to maybe 10, 15, I don't know, but still it was super low. Uh, uh, so it's really a land of extremes, a land of diversity. But as long as you know how to handle India, I mean, today I'm in love with the country.
Right.
Very clearly, I love to travel there, and I just like this diversity. I like the fact that it's so different from what we have. And I love the diversity of landscape, of nature, of roads. I mean, you have the highest road in the world, 5,600 meters high. You have the tropical South India with the banana trees, the coconut trees, the sea. You have the land of Maharajas in Rajasthan when it's just about the culture and the people who are so welcoming in the villages.
Nice.
So it's so diverse and so different from one place to another. So that's really what I love about India.
It's beautiful. Thank you for that.
Did you feel like your bike was safe on the train,
No,
or were you worried about that while you're crammed in a
yes,
general compartment?
I was constantly worried, each time when on the way
Ah,
to go, on the way back, I had each time packed my bike with, it was so funny, you go there and you have guys who pack your bike with, I'm losing my English, but with a lot of all the bags
Oh yeah, yeah.
and
Just stick it
some kind of
anywhere.
dry grass, all over, and then they bag it and wrap it and tie it,
yeah.
and all this advice about with from Indian friends who had did it before, and be careful of this and take off your mirrors and do
Oh,
that.
wow.
And then you put it in
Jeez.
the train, and when you arrive in Delhi, you're not even sure that um, the car with the bike is still there in the train. I had
Yeah.
absolutely no idea. There's a small slip of
Gosh.
paper saying I had a bike in the train, but it was like worth nothing. But that's the magic of India. At the end, things work out.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Hey,
Looks like
Alex. Okay,
mess, but it works.
sorry to interrupt you. How big was the bike? What was the CC?
It's a 350, 1998 bullets,
Okay,
Royal
okay,
Enfield
cool.
bullets,
All right, cool. The bullet. Yep. All right, thank you.
which
So
in
what
India was almost the biggest bike. But the 500 existed
biggest?
at the time, but it was the bike, the 350 bullet.
Oh, okay. So a
Okay.
lot of
Not many people had the 500. So what inspired you to go from your solo trip in India to then branch out and create vintage rides? And, what was there a catalyst that encouraged
So,
that?
so basically, I think two things. One thing is that I love to conduct projects. When I came to India, I had the idea to create an NGO. My idea was that a lot of students from the north have access to finances to do projects which don't help many people except themselves, or like they get fundings to travel the world and make pictures. And in the south, in like the university where I was in Nehru University, you have people who are so bright, so smart, and they know exactly what they would do with this $30,000 or whatever budget these kids can get. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, okay, we have to create an NGO, some kind of a student association to connect students from the north who get money to students from the south who actually do something useful with that money. And I had this idea with another friend, and he was in France. And then when I would have back in France, he was going to Mexico. And so it's just like a project took, you know, over another one. And then also the guy from which Sanjay Wattal, from which I bought my first motorcycle, actually told me, there are a few Germans doing tours. Why don't you do it for French? And it just sticked in my mind. And then somehow a project took over another one. While I was riding in South India, in the middle of the banana trees and the tea plantations, I was like, "Fuck, that I need to share that
Yeah.
with more than me and
absolutely.
Yeah.
myself." So,
Absolutely.
And
it
so
just
what strategies did you employ to then experience growth then once you'd made that decision?
first, and at the beginning, I had no idea. I was 20 years old. I just went to
Right.
the chartered accountant and I started a company. And he told me, Alex, you need $2,000. So I did the pizza delivery And
No
basically, I
way.
was still in India. I did translations. I translated content, and then I had a company. But then it was an empty shell. So
Hmm.
then we just created a website, and we started to float itineraries. And I was still a student for 3 years after that. So I was always trying to use my internship or any classes I had at school to make sure it was going in the direction of vintage rights. And so I did a big market study with some fellow students, going to motorcycle events, telling them, hey, uh, we are doing a market study for a student project. And they were asking all the questions, and all the questions were about basically how should we approach people? Would you be interested in traveling on a Royal Enfield? You be interested in traveling in India? What would be the budget you would be interested in? By the way, we make that happen. Are you interested?
Right, right, right.
It's actually some kind of a
Nice,
sales
nice.
strategy. So,
Pulling your future customers. That's awesome, man.
so it was basically a sales strategy. Then of course, internet, and but modestly with the modest budget that we had, and internet, direct communication. Then we contacted the press because I was able to contact two type of press. Motorcycle press, because nobody was doing any motorcycle tours in India before us. And it was really sounding crazy to ride on
Nice.
a iron engine, right side gearbox, and to cross the Himalayas. So the press was really interested in the story.
That's cool.
And second, the business news or local news, because I was the youngest French entrepreneur in India at 20 years old.
Wow.
So,
Nice.
so it was creating some kind of a hook. And with this, the press, events, motorcycle events, and digital communication. And that's basically what remained the three pillars of our communication. Motorcycle events, that when we grew, we started having money, and we took a boost, a stand, and then, we grew. Internet, so we improved the website, we started digital ads, and then, yeah, sorry, press, marketing, and press, digital, and exhibitions. Yeah, the three pillars of the communication of vintage.
Alex, let me ask you a question. When you were building the tours, right? When you were building the tours, you strictly focused in the India, but how were the motorcycles provided? Were people bringing their own bikes, or were you guys supplying the motorcycles, and how did that all go about?
So, at the very beginning, for 1 year, my first business partner was Sanjay Wattal, the guy who somehow sold me his first
Hmm.
bike. After 1 year, I realized it's not going to work because he was very busy. We didn't really have the same vision about how the things should be operating on the ground. And he had this engineering job on the side. So I approached my only one competitor. It's a French company called Shanti Travel, and they had a small branch about motorcycling. And they already had 11 bikes. And so the name of that guy is Alex, another Alex Leberon. And so I called him, and I sent him a mail, and we quickly got to a coffee. And I said, basically, see, I made a market study with the students I told you about. 75% of the riders want to go with a specialized tour operator. They don't want to travel with tour operator with also trekking and car tours and all. And also, we need to create a market. And because we are two on a market which doesn't exist, we compete with each other on the non-existing market, and we are killing our marketing budgets. So we need to partner up, and
Nice.
we need to increase the price, create a marketing budget. Otherwise, none of us will never have business.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And we stayed partner for 10 years. And so
Wow.
that's how we started. So he was much more on the operation part, and I was much more on the sales and marketing part. And 10 years later, I purchased his shares. So now, since 5 years, I'm operating solo. But we've been into a very successful partnership for 10 years. And so we had, roughly from the beginning, 12 T Iron Engine Royal Enfield bullets.
Wow. Wow. So currently now, are you doing both operations and sales marketing, or do you have somebody else now in the
Oh,
operations
no,
role?
yeah, I mean, I'm a solo entrepreneur in the sense that I don't have any more business partners, but we are a team of 15 plus people full time. And then I have a network of very loyal partners, which in my view are the first team. I mean, the team on the ground, the tour leaders, the mechanics, all my partners for the bikes, all my partners for the accommodations, and destination management companies.
Mhm.
So now we have a big network of partners. So I'm I'm the only, let's say, business owner. But of course, I operate with my team.
Yeah, well, that's perfect because it leads us perfectly into this next question. Managing a team across 4 different countries. Basically, you're in India, France, Mongolia, and Thailand, correct?
4 different continents. We are in 18
Continents. Sorry,
countries.
yeah, yeah,
18 countries. No
18
yeah.
problem.
18
countries.
countries. My bad.
Wow.
Obviously, that's a big thing. So, how do you maintain like effective communication and collaboration with your team in such a diverse geographical area? I mean, how do you keep everybody on the same page? You are the CEO of the company, so obviously, everything you pinpoint and direct everything the way it needs to be done. Take us through your communication process of dealing through the 4 continents and 18 countries.
So it's a very good question because I think it's also our number one challenge. If you ask me, am I satisfied with the communication we have internally with all our partners, all teams all over the world? The answer is no. I think we can do better. To be very clear,
Right.
because it's difficult because the full-time team is in Lyon, and so of course the information circulates very fast with the team in Lyon. But the team, we are also a fast-growing company in a lot of different places. Our job is to handle adventures, so there are unforeseen things happening every day. So it's very difficult to have a routine, and so there is always something happening that takes over the fact that we keep everybody on the exact same page. So very honestly, I think we can still improve in these lines. This being said, of course, for the important things, we are in place.
Excellent.
And the important things is to deliver an excellent experience to our riders. And for that, we are well organized. We have processes in place. We have people taking the leads, and the business is coming in from the internet or from the different source of marketing. So they give the advice, they sell the tour, then it goes to an operation team. Because we have the world is split in two. We have basically Asia and the rest of the world. And so these 2 areas are handled by 2 area managers. They have area coordinators below them who are then coordinating with the motorcycle fleet managers, with the tour leaders, and with the people who book the hotels for us and all the destination management companies. So each tour is basically coming from the association and the coordination of 3 different kind of people: tour leaders, um, motorcycle related partners. Sometimes the mechanic is hired with the bike, sometimes it's our own, so it depends. And then whatever is more traditional tourism operations. So, um, what for touring, for the operations, we are in place, and everybody knows what he has to do. And we are very lucky because the team is very independent, especially the ground team, the tour leaders, the people on the ground. They know how to handle the job, so it works very well. And so that's the key for communication. Where I think it's still a challenge, it's to because things change fast, we grow quite fast, to always keep everybody at the same page. Because I think that was your question,
Yes.
and
Right.
in that sense, to be very honest, it's still a challenge. Of course, we are communicating, sending newsletters to everybody, um, but I think we can still improve.
Your managerial team around the continents, had they been in place for a while, or are you finding turnover?
No, we have turnover, especially post-COVID. COVID has been a big blast in the
Mhm.
tourism industry. And for us, 2 things happened, and so we had basically 2 revolution to handle at the same time. The first one is that in 2019, I decided to shift the head office of Vintage Rides from India to France because we were not anymore an Indian company who expanded in Asia, but we were a global company with a, a majority of European customers. So
What
I said,
challenges
okay,
did you face in that transition? Is that a massive operation?
but the challenge was that first to make the decision. Honestly, it was a very difficult decision to decide to operate from a low cost country and to shift the head office to a high cost country like France. So that was a big challenge. The second challenge was to create the roadmap to make the shift, keep the processes in place, keep the team that wanted to stay with a new salary grade and new negotiations, new agreements, and also make sure to be fair to the people who didn't want to come to France or could not come to France, and make sure that they had a decent and healthy exit. So that's why I announced the change 1.5 years before.
Wow.
The change was actually supposed to happen, so it was a risk, but
Good man.
Vintage is a small family.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was very important for me to treat people with the respect that they give
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
every day, and with the
Yeah.
passion that they give in the job. So I really want to give the visibility to everybody. And so it was
Quality
a
leader.
strong decision, but I think the team reacted nicely. And we even built that change with my little COMEX, right, if you know what's COMEX, but, executive committee in a way. And I, uh, someone with a lot of experience in tourism from France came, helped us to think about the challenges, and they got so involved that two of the members of the COMEX decided to come to France to make
Mm.
the transition happen, and two others really wanted to stay till the end of the transition in India to make sure that the things happen smoothly also from the Indian end. So which was an amazing business experience to conduct that with this team.
Sure.
But that was the first revolution, and everything was starting now. I mean, challenging but good. We officialized in October 19, and in March 9, when COVID happened, we are slowly ramping up in France. We had basically the target was to be 18 in France and 12 in India. And when it happened, we were 13 in France. COVID happened. We downsized to 6 people in France.
Wow.
And in India, we divided the work time by 50% at the beginning. And then we said, okay, we have to close India because we cannot just keep paying salaries without any revenues. So we made
Right.
French style. We gave them all a departure package. So that's the
Right.
French culture. But look, so we did it nicely. Everybody left in a friendly manner, and everybody also found the job very fast, so which was good.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very difficult time for us, and for me. So that's why the turnover has been much stronger than we thought, and it really impacted the company for the old. I mean, since 2020 till today, because then we had to restart a bit from scratch, everything. And then COVID, remember, it was on, off, on, off. So it was honestly, in terms of business, that was a crazy time.
Man.
For travel industry, it was crazy.
Yeah, in Europe for sure. I mean, in the States, we are fortunate. We live in Florida, so our governor opened everything up so people can continue making a living and working 2 weeks after. But I mean, there are so many businesses around this country. I'm just talking for the States that went out of business because their government closed everything up. So man, that's tough when we're trying to build something big and have those great lines of communication, the proper people in place, and all of a sudden nobody's got a job. That's scary, man. So how did you rebuild it? Like how were you able to? We're gonna move on to the next question, but I just want to ask you just a quick one before we get off this. How are you able to rebuild this now, as far as getting that proper team in place?
I mean, my ground team has always been there. My tour leaders and my mechanics and my partners have always been there. So this is the heart of the operation. And this is the most important, to be honest. And then the office team, there are always been some good people. And so when someone was going, because I had a good relationship with everybody, they were making sure to train someone new, or someone was going, but we're training someone in-house, was staying to keep the knowledge. So even though some knowledge has gone, um, the heart remained,
Right.
and we managed to survive in a way to keep to keep the essence. And
Knock on wood.
also, I mean, in this kind of dynamic, you have two ways: either you wait and see, which was what many people do or can do, or you just keep growing new ideas, developing things. And that's what I did, because that's the only thing I know how to do.
Awesome.
I just have ideas all the time, and I just need to be always in movement and have new ideas. So before COVID, we operated in 9 countries, and after COVID, we were operating in 18 countries. So I kept on looking for new
Nice.
destinations and new opportunities and new things, and it was exhausting, but that's my way.
Good for
And
you, man.
that's been good for us, because from the French markets and French riders, India is not back to the figures that it was, to the level that it was, and that's India in general for French tourism. and it was 50% of our business pre-COVID. And post-COVID in 2023, we are bigger than in 2019, and India is only 22% of our business. So I would say, luckily, we developed fast enough.
That's incredible. That's awesome, man. You have some amazing trips that you guys do, and I apologize. I'm going to read because I can't remember everything, but I'm going to read this part of it. You guys got Europe with France and Turkey, India with North, South, and the Himalayas. Asia, you are in Nepal, Thailand, Vietnam, Mongolia, Bhutan, Laos, Sri Lanka. Uh, and then Africa, you're in Morocco, Rwanda, South Africa, Tanzania, Namibia, and then South America, Peru, Ecuador, Argentina, and Chile. That's man, that's awesome, man. Once the show kicks off and we start making some money, man, I'm coming to visit you, both Ben and
That,
I. So, but
that's a bucket list.
that's a major bucket list. But I wanted to get this question out, and this is for people listening and watching. Can you take us through, like, once they get a hold of your company, all right, they're interested in a trip and they want to book a trip. What do they need to do? Uh, what do you tell them how to plan for the trip? Take the listeners through that. I call you, I'm interested in a trip. Take us through that process of what it's going to be required for them to go through prior to flying into wherever they're going to be and leaving on kickstands up. So take us from the phone call to arriving in their destination.
All right. So the first thing is that I want to understand who they are and what they want. I think that's the most important thing. What kind of riders they are, how much riding experience do they have, how comfortable are they on a bike, um, if they didn't ride for 10 years and if they have their license, but they say, okay, I'm not sporty, I'm never even cycling, and I say, okay, maybe you need to start with the academy 3 days package, to make sure that you can do a tour. But if it's someone who didn't ride much but is still quite fit and cycles, or you can find dynamic, I say, okay, that's great, because most of our tours are accessible to many. The DNA of vintage rides is to make craziest adventures or the most epic adventures accessible to any rider who really wants to do it. Because the Enfield is a simple motorcycle, and it balances the levels of everybody in the group. And we all ride slow, so most people can do it. So, but still, I want to understand who they are, what is their riding level, and depending on that, I will tell, and what they want. Depending on that, I will tell them, hey, if you want the adventure of a lifetime, you're a fairly good rider. Even if to people who really want to do a crazy off-road, I tell them, go somewhere else. It's
Right.
not vintage rides. It's holidays. It's about being together. It's about discovering country. But if they're okay with that, I tell them, okay, let's take an adventure tour. Let's go on the highest road in the world in the Himalayas. Let's be ready that anything can happen. I'm sending you an itinerary, but maybe we'll take another one. You have to be ready for that. I'm telling you it's 6 days riding a day, but it can be 8. It can be 9, because we may have a lot of river crossing. We may have some landslides. We may have so many things to do,
Wow.
So that's adventure. On the other extreme, some people tell me, you know what? I want to ride 2-3 hours a day. Oh no, maybe 3-4 hours a day. I want comfort. I want to have my wife as a pillion or my husband as a pillion if it's the other way around, whatever. And I tell them, you know what? We have chic and charming tours, as we call them in France. It's luxury tours. So it's okay. We're never going to do Sheraton kind of a luxury, but you're going to have an old castle, changed into a hotel, and it's going to be super unique with good place, good comfort, good food. So yes, we're going to ride, but you're also going to enjoy the pool, in the evening, and we'll reach mid-afternoon, so you have time to chill. Maybe we'll go in a safari, see the tigers, and in between we have the rumbles, which is okay. You're going to have a nice riding throughout the day. So you need to be able to take your 6 hours of riding a day. But we're going to make breaks every hour, have a tea, carry on, make some visits. So I really try to understand who they are. And depending on who they are, I put them in the right type of tour. And then I look at the destinations, because the most important is that they have the good type of tour, then the destination. So that depends on what they want, the seasonality, Maybe when are they available for holidays? Some people ride in summer. Some people prefer riding in the winter because the summers they're busy with work. And because we operate in 18 countries and all over the world, we always have one tour matching their expectation at a given point of time. Then, of course, we check the budgets. Um, but our tours are also affordable. I mean, they start from €1,000 for 3 days in France to basically €3,000, for 15 days in India, to maybe five or 6,000 euros in for 15 days in Patagonia, which is the
Wow.
most expensive destination that we have. So everybody can find something that really suits him in terms of tours. If
Right.
he really wants to make it and to save a bit, there can be something really like we have 1 week holidays, like 7 days adventure in Morocco for €1,000. So that's fine. But budget comes last. It's the last thing that we care about. So let's say someone, to answer your question, says, "Okay, I want to go to Morocco, $2,000 for the week, and let's go." So we just it just pays by credit card, and then we take care of everything. They take their plane ticket. We do not take plane tickets because we don't really have added value on plane tickets. I mean, it's not our
Right.
DNA. People just go online, book a plane ticket, and we follow up with the riders to make sure that he has his international riding license, his passport, his visa. We inform him of what he needs, and then he reaches, Marrakesh airport, and we are here, and
Nice.
then he has nothing to think about. So very often, people are,
Nice.
they need a guide, we guide them. There is the mechanical assistance, the backup, we carry the luggage, we ride as a group. There is a nice hotel at the stop, and food is taken care of during the day. So it's just basically almost no more expenditures, and everything is taken care of. You just need to follow and
That's
enjoy the ride.
awesome, man. That's awesome. How big are your tours? Like, do you have a maximum number of people that
10
come?
bikes,
How
10
many?
bikes,
10
10
bikes.
bikes.
10
10
bikes.
bikes
Okay.
max. We want to stay small groups because it's very important for us to ride beyond the beaten path and to really have unplanned and genuine interaction with the locals.
Yep.
So we stop in a random tea shop and let's see who's there, and some conversation starts. And when you're a group of 10, 12, it still happens. When you start to be a group of 20, 30, it's different.
Yeah, it's big. It's too
So
much.
we find it to be the right balance. What is also very important for us is sharing moments with the locals, but also within the group.
Mhm.
And this amount of 8, 10, 12 people is great because so many great friendships uh, actually grew during the tour. And some many people didn't know each other, are best friends after the ride, after
Absolutely.
the 1 week or 2 weeks holidays.
And everybody rides the same size motorcycle?
Always in the same bikes. We want to keep a balance during the group. We don't want anyone overspeeding the others or
Right.
someone having the small bike being always on the back. So the spirit is that we adjust to the level of the weakest rider, because it's the one gang philosophy in the way. We are here to
Right.
travel. We're not here to race or anything. We're just here to enjoy the ride, to enjoy the landscapes, to discover new culture, um, to have a proper traveling experience, which I think is not the same when you travel with a car or in a bus or
No, no, no. There's
something.
nothing like being on two wheels. There's nothing. You can't. It's a feeling that you cannot describe to anybody until you do it. So, especially to the beautiful places you've ridden. So, I mean, that's like, man, I just when I was doing it, when Ben and I would do our research on you, man, we were both like, holy smokes, man, this guy has seen so much cool stuff in his life. So we're totally jealous here. Like I said, the second start making money from One Gang Worldwide podcast, we're coming to visit you, we're booking a tour, and we're recommending you to come with us. So
Great,
we're gonna drag
great.
you out from no matter where you are.
I like it. Looking
So
forward to that.
cool.
So moving on to the next item is speaking of Planet Rides. So being a co-founder and a board member on Planet Rides, what inspired you to create the platform, bringing travelers and road trip specialists together around the world? And how do you envision the future, the impact that you intend to make, the mission of it?
So basically, that was uh, um, the idea of Planet Ride came when I was in 2012 riding in Mongolia, and I was thinking, okay, it's going to take me years to take vintage rides on the four continents. and I really wanted to offer things to riders in more than Asia. And I felt, okay, there are a lot of people out there doing amazing uh, 4x4 tours or motorcycle tours on other motorcycles than Enfield that fits what riders want. They don't all want to come to India or Mongolia on an Enfield. There's some people want to ride a Harley in the US. Some people want to ride a 4x4 in Namibia or in Morocco. Some people want to ride a snowmobile in Lapland in the north of Europe or in Canada. And I said, okay, there was no marketplace. Basically, selecting the good players and giving them some visibility online. And so I said, okay, there is no marketplace doing that. Let's do it. so, so we
So
basically
awesome.
incubated the project within Vintage Rides, and quickly I realized, okay, I cannot handle both. It's too
Yeah.
much. So I kept the presidency of Planet Ride, but I needed to have extra partners to really handle the game. And that's when Baptiste and Pierre Alexandre came in. Pierre Alexandre is our CTO, and Baptiste is our CEO. And uh, yeah, I mean, they just run the show. So I was on their side for basically the production, the selection of partners. I tried to share my knowledge with them as much as possible. And step by step, they developed a real autonomy on Planet Ride. So now it's an autonomous business that I am at the board. I'm very happy to share ideas and strategic vision, but they are running the show. And what happened during COVID is that at Planet Ride also we are brainstorming a lot, and we thought, okay, we developed a great technology. What we realized also with Vintage Rides is that community and experience is a great marketing tools for brands, because today vintage is the, as far as I know, because it's a niche market, Vintage Rides is the largest motorcycle tour operator dedicated to one motorcycle brand, which is Wild Enfield. And we realized, especially in France, our home market, that we help Wild Enfield marketing quite a lot. I mean, from what I know, one rider out of four is purchasing a bike out of his tour, which is significant.
Yeah.
So we said,
Wow.
okay, so many brands would need basically an experience platform, an experience program. And we had with Planet Ride the technology and the knowledge to sort the partners or to build the partners for these brands. And so we launched a project that we call Glide. We don't have an online webpage about it, but we are still in a startup mode, organizing experience platforms for brands. And so we created basically the experience platform of Triumph, Triumph France. So it's called triumphride.fr or .com. Maybe you know the oil company called Motul. You know the
Mature, yep.
Motul. It's a French oil company. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not oil in English. It's in some kind of oil, that you put in your engine. And so we created for them Motul Ride, and now we are taking this platform global. So we are
Nice.
translating it in, I think it's 8 different markets now. Um, there is a French car brand called DS, uh, and for them we created DS Travel Experience. And I think it's great because brands need experience to communicate. I think our mission with Blide is to explain to brands that the future of marketing comes, I mean, with experience within the mix. And experience needs to be the mix of a smart marketing. The same way influencer came in the thing, the same way, everything is part of but experience is key. People want to live real experiences. People need to experience the products before they buy the product. And people want to have genuine experiences and to meet people while they experience the product, to create a very, very strong bond between them and the brand. And so I think one of the companies which explained that, I mean, and improved that concept is Red Bull. In terms of
Oh yeah.
marketing, they're
Absolutely.
crazy, It's just a drink, but
Right.
they are so strong in terms of experience, and it's just there in
Yeah.
the mind of everybody. So in terms of showing the experience, but also living the experience. So our job is to create this experience platform for the brands to engage with their communities and to create experiences for their communities.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wanted to ask you a question for just entrepreneurs listening, people looking to start up their businesses. You had secured for Planet Ride 375 k in euros in seed funding in 2015, right? Um,
Yeah.
Wanted to ask you, like, maybe you can help others out there that are looking to do some things. First, how did you approach the fundraising part, and what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs seeking investment for their ventures?
Uh, so there is two ways because it's basically with Planet Ride we seed funded, and with Vintage Rides we bootstrap the company. So I can see both ways. I think both ways are good. Both ways have pros and cons. And I think the first question someone who wants to grow a business needs to ask is, do I really need funding?
Right.
Right.
Because I think that's the first thing. Because if you can bootstrap a company, bootstrap it. I mean, if you can work part time to fund what you need to do in your business, I would say do it. There is nothing like remaining free and remaining independent from any business partners. So that would be the first advice. Really make sure that to achieve your vision, you really need external fundings. I think
Right.
that's the very first thing. The second thing is prove your concept alone. You need to find love money or your pocket money, or you need to work to get the first tens of thousands to make your MVP, your minimum viable product on your own. Don't look for fundings immediately. Try to prove something. Otherwise, it's going to take so long to get your fundings, at least in France. And especially now, also that the money is harder to find than
Yeah,
before COVID. So,
for
first
sure.
make your AVP, prove your concept, go as fast as possible towards your clients. And better than a market study is to actually try to sell what you think you should sell. So don't lose too much time in business plans and fundings and things. First, sell, prove it. There's a great American entrepreneur who showed that very well. He's a guy who founded Zappos. Zappos. It's I think a shoe
Shoe.
selling
Yep.
company online. That guy is so smart. He wanted to prove that he could do a marketplace for shoes. So he created a website. He was going to in a shop, taking the picture of the shoes, putting him online, and each time he got an order, he was going to buy the shoe in the shoe shop
Right.
down the street and shipping
Ship
it
it.
in the
Yeah.
house. That's
Yep.
the smartest way. Don't don't lose time by asking questions to everybody. Just do it. Just go. And once you prove your model, then you can start thinking about raising. And how to raise is create a smart 4-page, what we call executive summary, where you need to size your markets. You need to size your market with different approaches. One approach is the geographic, the demographics, and then you take this percentage of this, da da da. Then check the researches online, and maybe find different kind of approaches depending on the maybe your competitors. Try to find how big are your competitors and why. Do you have competitors? Is it a good sign or not if you don't have? So size your market. Then explain your business model. How are you actually going to make money? How are you actually going to make money? I mean, okay, you're selling something 2,000, it costing you 1,000. Okay, you have a gross margin of 50%. Okay, but how much does it cost you to actually get your clients? Is your gross margin enough?
Right.
Then project your costs and project your growth and see when do you break even, because this is the key to know how much money you need to fundraise. First, you need to know when you break even, and whatever is before you break even point is what you need to fundraise. And of course, make sure to have a negative strategy or pessimistic strategy, so that you are sure that even with the pessimistic strategy, you can, reduce your cost and all, and still break even with what you have fundraised. I think that's very important, and people should not forget. Once you have this strategy, you need to get proper information on how is a business what is the value of of a company in your game, in your business segments. So sometimes it's basic. For me, the best way to estimate the value of a business is the multiples. So in your segment, depending on the size of your business and so many things, your business is what? X EBITDA, X gross margin, X turnover, X revenues. So you need to know what are these multiples depending on the maturity of your business. This is one thing. The second thing is that when you raise money, you need to raise money post your valuation post money, which is basically your valuation plus what you fundraised. So for example, yeah, the post money of Planet Ride, if we say that the pre money is 1 million, if we raise 375,000, the post money is 1,375,000. This value needs to be the value of your company 3 years after you fundraised, if you follow the plan. And your business, if you use the multiple strategy, needs to be worth twice or 3 times this value in 5 years. If your pessimistic plan can do that, you should be able to raise money.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome advice, Alex. Thank you so much for that. Awesome advice.
So the other side of this is back to the adventuring and your experience with that into the entrepreneurial world. Have you found any parallels between your experience as a adventure seeker, um, and has any of those or have any of those personality traits or interests or passions translated into your development and persona as an entrepreneur?
I'm sorry, Ben, I'm not really getting your question.
Sure.
But
So the passion of adventure riding, and you
what?
found that you love that at an early age. Are there any parallels between your approach to business and that sort of sense of adventure seeking as well? Have you found yourself,
Yeah,
for example, more prone to take risks or,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. Yeah. So sorry, I got it. I got it. Sorry. Of course, I think me, I'm an adventurer at heart, in the sense that I always want to discover new things. For me, adventure is um, going towards the unknown. Adventure starts where you don't know what's going to happen. Adventure starts when it's unplanned. It starts where there is something unforeseen that happens. And that's what I'm looking for. And I love to do my job when I don't know what's going to happen next or when there is a problem to solve. As soon as I'm repeating something that is the same, I'm getting bored. So that's why for me, it's very, very key
and
to have a team with me who enjoys structuring things and doing the work which repeats itself, which is errant in a business, which is strategic. So if you, in my point of view, I read a business book called No Man's Land, which I would recommend. It's a great business book. It said there is two big types of people. There are the cleanup guys and the mess up guys. And I am a mess up guy, big time. So for me, in business, it needs to be an adventure. And I need to go towards what I don't know every day. That's what I like. I need to solve problems. I don't like to do the things I already know to how to do. I want to do new things. So very clearly, what I experienced and the way I experienced it being a teenager and a young adult in India is very clearly reflecting on how I run my company as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Most great minds and entrepreneurs are the messy guys. So just for the reason being is they're always thinking the next step ahead. So that's awesome. Great answer on that. Hey, wanted to ask you about with Vintage Rides, right? You guys specialize in Royal Enfield tours. How did you bring that brand into your business? And is it a brand that you chose because it appeals more to to riders from around the world, or how did you decide to go with Royal Enfield as your primary motorcycle for all your tours?
Of course. So first thing is that Royal Enfield is the bike of India. It's not the bike which has the most sales because it's a mid-sized motorcycle and the small-sized motorcycle is way bigger in India. But it has always been the bike of the middle class, the bike of the teacher, the bike of the policeman, the bike of the army. So in India, it's a very natural choice. It's a bike with the character, with the history, which it just fits what we want and the spirit of what we want in terms of touring. So it was just, and then when we decided to expand out of South Asia, we realized, okay, should we try to get a local bike each time, the bike which connects to the country, or should we keep the Enfield? And I think it when we went to Mongolia that the decision was made because we were really thinking, should we get the Ural sidecars or should we get the Enfield? And we kept on thinking about it. And at some point we said, hey, you know what? We take the Enfield because peop yes, it's great in India, but what is also great about these bikes is that they are small. It's small bikes at the end of the day. They are charming. They are easy to handle. They attract the attention of the locals. It creates a modest touch. You know what? When you enter a country with a BMW GS, you're coming from the moon. You know, and when you come with a Royal Enfield, it's much more delicate
you
and
you fit in a little easier. Yeah.
you fit in a little easier. It's more modest, and that's what we want. A modest approach to traveling and also these bikes are easy to take to handle, so there is less accidents,
Right.
less falls. So at the end of the day, it just became obvious that this was going to be the bike that we're going to ride all over the world.
That's cool. That's cool. Thanks for answering.
Well, one more question before we get to our speed round. How
Oh,
can what do you have going on in the world? How do people find you? Um, Share with us and our listeners where we can find you these days, whether it's social media, websites, you name it, and we'll make sure to put these in the description.
okay, sure. So first, I mean, me personally, if it's more about entrepreneurship or even talking about tours on LinkedIn, it's my full name, Alex Zurcher on LinkedIn. That's the best way to get in touch with me. To get in touch with my company, the best is to go and for tours on vintagerides.travel online. Otherwise, of course, the social media, Vintage Rides on Facebook, Vintage Rides on Instagram, Vintage Rides on YouTube. We have a lot of road trips videos on YouTube for people who
Which is
like to,
awesome. If you guys
use the beer and
need to
watch.
see it,
Yeah.
man. I watched a few. They were awesome. Amazing.
Thank you.
I'm in awe, man. I'm ready to go now. I'll pack my bags now. So maybe I'll hit the lotto tomorrow. I'll be calling you on Sunday. So
Thank you very much. No, I think there is one video that maybe people should watch. It's the 5-minute video that we have on the frozen lake in Mongolia with the sidecars called the Frozen Ride on Vintage
amazing.
Rides. I think that video we have a lot of positive feedback and it shows really our DNA of adventure. I mean, that's a ride that we organized for the 10 years of Vintage Rides just for the sake of it, just for the sake of
Cool.
adventure because it
Super
sounded
cool.
crazy, so we did it. So yeah, online, I think that's the good way to get in touch. Otherwise, we also participate to some motorcycle exhibitions in France, in the UK, in Germany, in the US, and you guys are American. We have Wendy Crockett, who is our
Yeah.
She was on our show.
yeah.
Yeah, we had
Okay,
her on. Yeah, yeah. So
this is
She's
great.
awesome.
yeah,
So
like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yep.
amazing. So she's an amazing
Yeah,
woman and
she's
she's
awesome.
our venture consultant in the US. So of
Uh,
course, getting in touch with Wendy is the best way if you want
yeah.
to
Cool.
tour with us.
Hey, so you working on anything on the horizon that you want to talk about as far as like what you're working on, or is there anything you
We're
want to
working
share?
on many things. We're working on many things. We're working to develop motorcycle riding jackets because what we find is that it's difficult to find the perfect jacket that fits our rides, where that can be both 25-degree or 30-degree in the day, and suddenly you cross a pass and there is snow and it's 0 degree, and
Right, right.
and suddenly it rains, and so we're trying to develop a kind of 4-season jacket, but which doesn't look like orange, blue, and all. So
Yeah.
which with kind of a simple and light kind of colors, which fits the vintage DNA. So we're working on that. We should launch the pre-orders in 1 or 2 months. We're also working on developing a vintage rides academy in the US. We're working actively with a company called Big Crash Free, with whom we are currently tightening a partnership. A guy called Steve, really great guy. So let's hope that this comes through. I would love to see this project. For me as a French, it would be really. Uh, I would say it's in my bucket list to get Americans to ride in the US with vintage rides. I mean, to see
Oh,
that
that'd be
Yeah.
amazing, man. That's cool as
would be
hell.
amazing. Yeah, to see if you guys can connect with our DNA. I mean, I know because we have Americans coming on our tours abroad, but to do that in the US, I would be really, really happy and proud of that. And yeah, so otherwise we're working on some other destinations, and let's see what comes through. But lots of projects all the time.
Alex, quick question for
Nice.
you. Going back to the few that we asked, it was more about like when people call to find out, depending on where they're going, obviously you tell them how to plan as far as what to bring, right? Like how to dress and the stuff to bring. But what about like talking about like jackets, helmets, stuff like that? Are they required to bring their own, or are they supplied?
No, they have to bring their gears because I mean, when you do 15 days ride, you want to be comfortable in your helmet, you want to be
For
comfortable
sure.
in your gears. So it's really much better that people take their gears.
Absolutely.
That's what we ask for, and I think that's the way to do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. All right, man. You
Almost,
ready? You ready to answer our speed round? Buckle
I
up,
don't know.
man.
I don't
Buckle
know. It's end of day. I'm starting to be a bit slow. Happy to try.
All right. All right. We got 2 minutes on the clock, man. Whatever comes up, you say.
All right.
All
Let it
right,
roll,
15
Ben.
questions. You ready?
Wow.
Okay, so
Oh,
number
oh.
one, best motorcycle ever built in your opinion.
Royal Enfield, Bullet 500cc Iron engine, right side gearbox.
Nice.
Can you get more specific? Best place you've ever ridden and why?
Rose Gold Lake, the frozen Rose Gold Lake in Mongolia on my sidecar.
Yeah.
Cool.
Amazing.
All right, number three, fuel injected, carbureted, or electric.
Carbureted.
All right, favorite cruising speed, 40 to 50, 75 to 100, or 100 plus.
40 to 50.
All right, favorite cruising speed, favorite riding road, curvy, straightaway, trails, dirt, scenic, or a combination.
Easy trails.
Nice. All right. One law you would change if you were the president to help the motorcycle community.
Wow. In the US? I don't know your laws well enough.
Or in France, anyway.
In France? How about in France?
To make sure that we can have access to more trails in France.
Right on. Okay, favorite motorcycle movie of all time.
Easy Rider.
Easy Rider,
Nice.
really? Wow. Okay, cool.
And number 8, favorite book you'd recommend everyone should read.
That's just like that. I could say Bérésina. Bérésina, it's a book of Sylvain Tesson. It's a French poet and writer who traveled with us, who did a ride from Russia to France on a sidecar on the tracks of the Napoleon army, which got kicked back from Russia back to France in 19th century.
Wow.
So great book, very poetical, and I think it's translated in English now. Bérésina.
Very cool. Check that out. Favorite go-to alcoholic beverage.
Beer, IPA.
Nice.
IPA, nice.
We knew you were our
Yeah.
guy.
All right, here's a tricky one. Last meal ever. What would it be?
Last meal ever. A choucroute.
Okay, explain that one.
It's my traditional meal from the northeast of France, from Alsace. It's a lot of I don't know if even how to translate chou in English. It's cabbage with a lot of different kind of pork, which cooks together with white wine for days, and then
Wow.
it's so tasty. I mean, it's
Sounds good. Sounds good.
super good.
Okay, 11. If you could meet someone past or present, who would it be?
Wow. I don't know. Maybe that guy, Erwan McGregor from Long Way Round. I would
Oh
like
my
to
God.
ask
Okay.
how.
Cool.
I would ask him the back, the real stories behind the movie.
That's cool. Very cool. Okay, so if you were stranded on a desert island and you could only bring one music album, or if that's too difficult, band, who would you bring?
That would be, Voracles. This it's a kind of electro music kind of a band, Voracles, and the one song would be Salzburg. It's a movie.
Cool, all
It's a
I'm gonna
music
check it out.
that puts me in good mood. It's good rhythm and good
Uplifting. Cool. All right. Number 13. If you could swap lives with a cartoon character for a day, which one would it be?
mood. Wow, I have no idea. Maybe Tintin. Tintin.
Nice. Yeah. Classic. Some adventure for you. Okay. 14. What's the most unusual talent that you possess that few people know about?
Whoa. Wow. I don't know. That's tough.
If you
I'm-
say you can do wheelies with a sidecar on a motorcycle, then that's
But that's not
impressive.
my talents, to be clear with you. Unusual talents. I have too many. I think I can have quick ideas to business problems. I would say my
Nice.
entrepreneur friends like to sometimes ask me for advice, and I'm always happy to try to help.
That's awesome.
I'm going to put you on speed dial. Last question. If you could make a rule for a day that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
Get on a bike and leave wherever.
Nice.
You know?
Cool. Very cool.
That's a great rule.
That's it.
Great
You
rule,
made it.
man. You made it. You did
Thank you.
good.
It's
You
so
did
cool.
great. You did great. Alex, thanks so much, buddy. Thanks for coming on, man, sharing your story. You're an unbelievable mind, great entrepreneur, and even a better man. So well, hopefully once this thing kicks off, Ben and I are scheduling a ride, and we're going to request you. And you can take us around and show us some beautiful parts of the world.
I would love to, and we could have IPAs at night.
Oh, man.
Yes.
We'd enjoy our
Cabbage.
IPAs together.
Bring us to the pork and cabbage, please.
Yeah. Then you need to come to France.
Yeah.
Deal.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
having
thank you
me.
so much, Alex. Really
Have
appreciate
a
you taking the
have a
time.
great New Year. Stay healthy. Be happy, man. And we'll have you on soon. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
buddy.
Alex.
Take
Bye
care.
bye, guys.
Take care.